When my mother slammed both hands on the Christmas dinner table, every conversation stopped. She pointed straight at me. You made $25 million. Your brother deserves at least 15. My father nodded without hesitation. You've always been the successful one. It's your responsibility to fix his life. I looked across the table at my 40-year-old brother, who couldn't even meet my eyes. Then I quietly reached into my purse, unlocked my phone and canceled one monthly payment. Nobody understood what I had just done. 3 weeks later my brother lost everything, and my parents finally discovered who had been paying for it all along. Before we continue, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us bring you more powerful stories like this. And I'm always curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments below. I love seeing just how far these stories travel. Now let's get back to the story. My name is Olivia Carter and I'm 35 years old. If you asked my parents who the successful child was while we were growing up, they'd never say my name. That title always belonged to my older brother Jason. Jason was the dreamer. I was the dependable one. Whenever Jason failed at something, my parents called it bad luck. Whenever I succeeded, they called it expected. That difference shaped our entire lives. Jason dropped out of college twice before deciding he wanted to become an entrepreneur. Every new business idea sounded revolutionary for about 3 weeks before it quietly disappeared. My parents never blamed him. They simply wrote another check. When he couldn't pay rent, they helped. When his truck was repossessed, they rescued him. When credit card bills piled up, somehow they always found a solution. Meanwhile, I worked full-time during college, earned scholarships, and spent nights teaching myself software development because I couldn't afford expensive courses. No one offered to rescue me. They told me hardship would build character. Maybe they were right. Because 12 years later, the tiny software company I started from a spare bedroom had grown into something I never imagined. Earlier that year, I sold a minority stake to a global investment firm. The deal valued my company at more than $25 million. Very few people knew. I preferred it that way. Money changes conversations and rarely for the better. My parents knew my company was doing well, but they had no idea how successful it had become. I never corrected their assumptions. What they also didn't know was something even more important. For nearly 8 years I'd quietly been helping Jason. Not by handing him money. He would have spent it without thinking. Instead, my parents called every few months with another emergency. Jason's behind on the mortgage. His insurance is about to lapse. The bank won't wait this time. Every call ended the same way. Please don't tell him it came from you. It'll embarrass him. So I transferred the money to my parents and they handled the rest. Month after month. Year after year. I convinced myself I wasn't enabling Jason. I was helping my parents sleep at night. Looking back, I realized there wasn't much difference. Christmas arrived a few weeks after the investment announcement. The entire family gathered at my parents' house. Dinner had barely started when my cousin Megan looked up from her phone. Olivia, is this you? She turned the screen toward everyone. A national business magazine featured my photograph beside the headline announcing one of the year's fastest-growing technology companies. The room went completely quiet. Jason let out a low whistle. Well, he laughed, raising his glass, I guess my little sister can finally buy me that yacht. Everyone chuckled. Everyone except my parents. Mom slowly set down her fork. Dad folded his hands on the table. Neither of them looked amused. Instead, Mom smiled as though she'd just solved a complicated problem. Honey, she said calmly, your brother deserves $15 million. Dad nodded once. He's family. Nobody laughed after my mother's words. The room grew so quiet I could hear the fireplace crackling behind us. I looked from Mom to Dad, then across the table at Jason. He wasn't shocked. He wasn't embarrassed. If anything, he looked hopeful. 15 million? I repeated calmly. Mom nodded without hesitation. You have 25. Your brother deserves a chance to build something meaningful. I set my fork down. Jason has had plenty of chances. Dad leaned forward. That's not fair. No. He just hasn't had the opportunities you've had. I almost smiled. Opportunities. I'd spent 12 years working weekends, missing vacations, sleeping beside my laptop and risking everything I'd saved. Jason had spent those same years waiting for someone else to solve his problems. Those weren't the same opportunities. Jason finally spoke. You know, I've had bad luck. I know you've had help, I answered quietly. His expression hardened. So you're really saying no? I'm saying I'm not giving anyone $15 million. Mom's face flushed. I can't believe how selfish you've become. Dad added, money has changed you. I looked around the table. If money changed anyone, it wasn't me. Nobody responded. The conversation ended awkwardly and dinner slowly continued, but the warmth had disappeared. Everyone acted as though I'd ruined Christmas. Around 10 that evening I drove home. The city streets were almost empty, giving me more silence than I'd had all day. When I walked into my house, I didn't pour a drink. I didn't cry. I simply opened my laptop. One banking website. One secure login. A list of automatic monthly transfers appeared on the screen. Mortgage reimbursement. Property tax reimbursement. Homeowner's insurance. Jason's small business loan. 4 transfers. Every single month. My parents had insisted they would handle everything as long as Jason never discovered where the money came from. For years, I'd believed I was helping my family stay together. Instead, I'd been protecting a fantasy. I stared at the screen for several minutes. Then I clicked cancel transfer. Once, twice, 3 times. The confirmation window appeared. Are you sure you want to permanently cancel these recurring payments? I didn't hesitate. Yes. Within seconds, 12 years of quiet financial support came to an end. I closed the laptop and went to bed. For the first time in a long while, I slept peacefully. 3 weeks later, my phone started ringing before breakfast. Then Dad. Then Jason. I ignored every call until lunchtime. By then my voicemail was full. The mortgage payment didn't go through. The bank says we're behind. Jason's lender is threatening legal action. Something is wrong with the account. Nothing was wrong. For the first time in years, everything was working exactly the way it should. The following morning, while I was reviewing contracts in my office, my assistant knocked softly. Olivia. She looked nervous. Your parents and your brother are here. Before I could answer, Dad pushed open the conference room door. His face was red with panic. He pointed directly at me. What did you do? Dad slammed a stack of unopened envelopes onto my conference table. What is this? He demanded. The bank is calling. Jason's loan payment bounced. His mortgage is overdue. His insurance company sent a cancellation notice. Mom stood behind him, her eyes red from crying. You have to fix this. Jason avoided looking at me. For the first time in years, he looked genuinely frightened. I calmly closed my laptop. I didn't create this situation. Dad shook his head. You stopped something. Yes. I opened a drawer and removed a thick blue folder. I stopped pretending. 3 confused faces stared back at me. I placed the folder on the table and slowly turned it toward them. Go ahead. Dad opened it first. Inside were 12 years of bank statements. Every transfer was highlighted. Every reimbursement was organized by date. Mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance premiums, business loan installments, emergency repairs, unexpected medical bills. Page after page. Year after year. Mom covered her mouth. This can't be. It is. I quietly slid another document across the table. A spreadsheet totaled every payment. The final number filled nearly half the page. Dad whispered it aloud. $3,842,000. Nobody spoke. Finally, Jason looked up. You paid all of this? I nodded. Not because I believed you deserved endless rescue. Then why? Because every time Mom and Dad called, they said it would be the last time. I looked at my parents. It never was. Mom began crying. We were only trying to help him. I know. But helping someone isn't the same as preventing every consequence. Dad lowered himself into a chair. His shoulders suddenly looked 20 years older. We thought we were protecting him. You were. I paused. From growing. Jason slowly leaned back. I honestly thought Mom and Dad were somehow making it work. They couldn't. They didn't. I did. Silence settled over the room. Not angry silence. Honest silence. The kind that finally leaves no room for excuses. After several moments, Jason spoke again. I don't even know how to thank you. You don't have to. He looked confused. What you owe isn't gratitude. It's responsibility. I reached into my desk and handed him a business card. My company is hiring operations managers. He stared at it. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an interview. No special treatment. No shortcuts. You'll earn it like everyone else. He looked down at the card for a long time. Then quietly he nodded. I understand. Mom reached for my hand. I'm sorry we kept expecting you to carry everyone. Dad's voice barely rose above a whisper. We failed both of our children. I squeezed their hands gently. We can't change 12 years. But we can stop repeating them. As they prepared to leave, Jason stopped beside the door. For the first time, he said softly, I think I finally have to build something that's actually mine. I smiled. I hope you do. After they left, I stood alone in my office watching the elevator doors close. I realized generosity without boundaries isn't kindness. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give someone is the chance to stand on their own. And this time I wasn't paying for anyone's future except my own.